We are excited for this episode, like very,
Me
very
too.
excited. I just think this meme and reel culture is, But how did we live without it? How did we live? What happened before we had memes and reels? Like, that's what I really want to know.
Welcome to Work is Weird Now podcast. Today we have Martin Kevill. How do you say it? Kevill. Okay, great. And we will be talking with him about memes, the memification of work. We'll be looking to answer the question, are memes the new language of work? Martin is creative director at Tangerine Communications. He has clients like Specsavers, Essity, and Iceland Foods. And the reason we wanted to talk about this is, we all know that memes have become much more of a thing. I read a stat recently that said that 60% of social media users share memes every day. And we also know that memes have 10 times more reach than a normal ad in the ad world. And we're seeing people actually getting jobs like meme creator, and that's their full-time job for different companies. So we know what's happening out in the world. But what we're really interested in talking to Martin about today is how that is impacting the workplace and how we communicate internally, and how memes impact culture and identity within organizations. So welcome, Martin. It's great to have you here.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
So let's just start with the big question then. Are memes the new language of work? What do you think?
I think they've taken over quite a few methods of communication in the workplace and outside of work, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. But in the workplace, they're sort of replacing small conversations that will take place, water cooler moments, and being able to convey certain emotions and things like that. Memes are sort of taking over many different forms of communication because they're so powerful in capturing a feeling or an opinion or a belief. They're sort of changing the way people communicate. And also, especially in the workplace, because a meme is so personal to the sender and the receiver, you can actually get around certain rules of communications within a workplace, and you can share, you can gossip, or you can share secrets, or you can almost like microtherapy within the workplace by just sending an image with some accompanying text. I really do think that memes are a hugely powerful tool within the workplace, both for coping with the pressures within work, but also making the workplace a really welcoming and fun culture as well.
And some of the memes that are really impacting, they will call out something pretty explicit that most people would never say to their boss or maybe a co-worker or HR or whoever. They would never say that out loud, even though they're thinking and feeling it. And it's that by sending it, they haven't physically said it themselves, but it's like, I'm feeling seen, I'm feeling heard, and we're in this moment together, and this is actually happening. We're making a joke out of it, but it's happening and it's real, right?
Yeah, I think that's where there's almost like a bit of a political legal grey area that may or may not grow in the future, but you are able to share an opinion, or you're able to say the unsayable essentially through the form of a meme, which is why I think they're so powerful in the workplace, because when we talk about things like workplace anxiety and burnout and different inter-department relationships or hierarchy and things like that, sometimes it's very difficult to share opinions or speak up around certain things, whereas a meme on a daily basis can allow you to communicate or help someone else feel seen or feel heard, or both make each other aware that they're going through the same thing without actually, currently anyway, crossing any lines legally or from a kind of HR perspective, which is why I think they're so powerful, because you're saying the unspeakable, really, many times in the workplace.
Do you think it's because of, we're talking about B2B environment now, but I think because B2C brands we've seen do it so well. So like the Aldi element, right? Like they say it and it's out there, and then they get cheerleaded for it. That's normalized it, right? That has normalized the culture of it, so that we're now starting to see it happen across in like the employee space.
Yeah, so I think one of what makes a meme so powerful is it can convey something that could be quite profound or something that has built up over a long period of time very quickly, instantly, essentially. And it's always very relatable. What I find really interesting about memes is I could send the same meme with the same accompanying copy text to two different people, and it would mean something entirely different to those individuals, because the reception of that meme is based totally on the relationship I have with the other person I'm sending it to, and the shared experiences or beliefs or opinions that we have. So for brands and workplaces, it allows them to communicate very effectively without going through the normal methods of communication that businesses and brands would do. Based on my experience, because I work within social media and comms, we know how powerful memes are in connecting with audiences. And you use the Aldi example. Aldi is great. It has a very specific way of using memes. It has the jokes around Cuthbert and the caterpillar and the legal side of the great things they did over the last couple of years. And they apply that to anything that's happening within culture and creates those memes. And in doing so, they create a really strong connection and relatable content for their audiences, and which is why they're so successful. And we do the same thing with Specsavers around the relatable world of wearing glasses and forgetting to take your contact lenses out and always forgetting to use the lens cloth and using your sleeve. These are really personal moments to individuals that we can create connections at scale with these brands.
So for those of us who are old and have not maybe grown up in have not grown up in the world of memes, I mean, it makes me think back to things like political cartoons, things that we still have, but maybe were the original sources of this kind of thing. So kind of smart commentary on existing things that are happening within the world. But for something to actually qualify as a meme, can we just define it? Is it an image taken from something that is currently in culture paired with a quote that is different from that moment? In other words, it creates that kind of tension between, or how do we define what a meme is, and what does a good meme look like? What does it do?
Yeah. So for me, a meme is an image that contains either an expression or a moment that we have all experienced. I'm talking screen grabs from pop culture or celebrities doing various things, but it's usually something that carries an expression that you can then apply an extra layer to, a message or a small bit of text, which then takes it into a completely new space. And I think the most successful memes are ones where that emotion, that expression is so universal but so individual that it can be adapted by tens, millions of people and then shared in very personal moments with different people. They're the ones like the older memes, like Hide the Pain Harold, which is that old guy who's putting on a really strained smile, pretending to look like he's happy when really his face is showing something completely different behind his eyes. He became such a viral meme because his face was able to convey so many different scenarios and emotions and opinions that so many people experience. So it just got shared everywhere and used over and over and over again, and you still see it to this day. But the memes that are coming from things like television, we're watching Traitors in the UK at the moment, and every evening there is an expression or a moment that can be adapted to fit millions of different personal scenarios between two individuals or groups of people, which is why I think memes can be really small, whimsical things, but they can also be these really powerful, profound, meaningful connections between individuals. But to me, successful memes to me are just a very, very strong expression that can be adapted to suit a myriad of different.
It's interesting how they're like self-perpetuating too, right? Because for example, with traders, you might not even seen the episode, but if something is captured from that episode and shared enough times with enough kind of interpretations of or applications of what that expression applies to, you don't even need to have seen the original source. The actual meme becomes the cultural moment, right? That then is repeated and evokes something in people.
Absolutely, yeah. And there are some memes that, I mean, there are things that are said on these TV shows that are very specific. For example, yesterday, on an episode of The Traitors, Claudia Winkleman told them to go away and have a biscuit after a very stressful task. That moment was then applied to so many different scenarios, from parenting through a hard day at work, through relationships or a really stressful drive that people can have. So it's just that ability to take something so small and whimsical and turn it to something that has a much more profound meaning to the individual. And that's what makes a really strong meme to me.
And this is it. So I think about all the memes that I relate to, share, enjoy. So it's being a parent, it's being a wife, being a manager, being a colleague, so being a marketer. Like there's so many. Is it? I mean, I think they are becoming a strong communication tool, not even becoming a communication tool. They are a method of communication tool now. But do we think that it's replacing communication? Is that actually negative or a danger where we're communicating through sharing but not actually saying how we feel in moments, and it's a negative?
Yeah, I think this is a really good question that I don't think I can answer for everyone. I know that for me in particular, both in the workplace and in my personal space, I know that memes make it much easier for me to communicate with certain people in my life and certain people in the workplace, because I can say certain things through memes, which if I was to try and say that thing to that person in our busy lifestyles in the digital age, where post-COVID we're very, very automated and digital, and we're always through emails and instant messages, and very rarely are we face to face, or much less so than pre-COVID. A meme will allow me to say something to that person that possibly I wouldn't do if that meme wasn't there with me in that moment. So I don't know. Only time will tell whether it's replacing important communication or complementing it. I think it depends on the individual and how they communicate. I just know that it really, really reduces the barriers for communication for me with certain people.
Yeah, I hear that too, because I was reading, there's a report by Better Up, and I was looking at some of the stats this morning. So their latest research of 1,000 European workers reveal a growing connection crisis across the workforce. So, I mean, we're hearing this so much, but 51% of European employees don't feel a sense of belonging in the workplace, and 44% don't feel a sense of connection to their co-workers, and 20% don't even have that one friend. And I'm not saying that that's because of memes or anything like that, but is that connection piece, like that there's tension there, right?
Yeah, I think about my workplace in particular, and I think post lockdown, because we have moved away from, I mean, we are fully back in the workplace now, but there's a hangover from lockdown, and there's also evolutions during lockdown in the way we communicate and the way we can, we don't have to meet up to do this podcast, for example. I know that's been a while, but these are examples of where this face-to-face, we don't have to travel as much and we don't have to be as face-to-face, and the communication has been obviously impacted by that. And I understand why individuals in the workplace can feel lonely, but I do believe that sharing memes, if you boil down why an individual shares a meme with someone else, it can be, even if it's just, I think you will find this funny. What you're saying by sending that meme to someone because they think it's funny is, I'm thinking of you right now, and I see you, and I understand the kind of things that you enjoy. And that, even if you feel it a tiny little bit, and what you remember is the meme and the joke, what you take away from that is that person is thinking of me, and I feel seen and I feel heard. And whether or not that kind of feeling could be sought without that meme is the question that I can't answer right now. I believe that memes are making it easier for people to have these small micro connections with individuals that they wouldn't normally.
Yeah. It's like acting as a relief. The human element's acting as like that pressure relief or release almost.
Like anxiety and burnout builds, certainly in the workplace, it builds up very slowly. It can build up without you knowing. Before you know it, it's too late essentially, and people need to step in and support you, or you're really struggling. Memes allow individuals to come together, feel like they're part of something. They're potentially not the only one going through it. And I'm talking in a workplace level, but also on a global level, where the world is feeling bigger and bigger. Everyone feels more disconnected. Memes allow us to say to one another, I'm going through what you're going through. I see what you see. I understand this scenario the same as you. And I see it a lot as a new parent. I used to see parent memes on social media and think, how can anyone find that in any way relatable, humorous, shareable? And now I'm a parent. All of a sudden, after 1 week, it is the thing that keeps me going in the evenings. So it just shows you how powerful these things are in saying things about you as a person, helping you accept and face up to certain things that you're going through.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, and we'll see if you agree, Martin, I think it is, as it pertains to the workplace, it is both, like so many things, a symptom and a cure, right? So I think given the kind of context that we find ourselves in, where there is so much more burnout, people are so much more disconnected, all the things we've talked about here, the risk posed by using memes as a way of communicating is that it then replaces the very necessary things that need to happen to actually solve some of those problems. So it couldn't possibly replace the need for clarity from leadership, for example, right? Because there is the risk, as you said, memes are open to interpretation. So if you're depending on them too heavily, you are removing that very necessary channel through which leaders provide real direction for their staff. So I think that's point one. Point two is I think there is a real question here, and maybe you can speak to this, around whether or not it actually creates an equitable workplace as well, because it does require that people interpret it in a way that is the way it was intended. And I think anytime we get into that kind of communication, we run the risk of excluding those people who will take offense to it, or relying on people to interpret things in a way that is not literal. So I think that was a very confusing way of saying it does not necessarily respect neurodiversity in the workplace. So I think there's a number of things that, yes, it's a good thing from my perspective, from the standpoint of providing a bridge where there is none. But it does not mean that there aren't many other things that need to supplement it. I mean, you said complement before, and I think that was a good word, that are so necessary to deal with some of the problems in the workplace. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I mean, my opinion is that a meme is so personal to the receiver and the sender that you have to be very careful when businesses and brands start to use memes as a form of communication or a way of communicating with the workforce, mainly for the points that you've just made, Alice, because they're so personal and because they're taken at a value solely personal to the individual that receives them. It's very difficult to be very inclusive with certain memes and ways of communicating through memes. When we use memes in our business, for example, they're very relatable to office life and what it's like when the drinks trolley goes around on a Friday, or what it's like when you come in on a Monday and it's really cool and the coffee machine on the second floor isn't working again. You know, it's all this kind of stuff. When you go beyond that, I mean, even those examples, there will be individuals who have just started work here who won't fully understand it. And there will be people who have taken it a certain way. So you do have to be careful with larger audiences, because we talk about the benefits and the power of memes. There is also a pretty sinister side in that, as I said at the start, I can't see anything as effective through digital internet culture, more effective in communicating an opinion or in a belief or sharing a joke than a meme that's so powerful. So that can be used for bad as well as good. And in certain workplaces where there are cliques and there are different groups that get on with certain people, which happens in every workplace, a meme can actually be quite a disruptive and negative presence in a WhatsApp group or between people or through emails.
Yeah, that's well said. The other thing that's the interesting element here is the generational differences, right? So, as I referred to earlier, I did not grow up with memes. Obviously, I'm seeing them a lot now, but it certainly wasn't the way that I was communicating in my 20s in the office. But I think it is potentially symptomatic of what I hear, and again, you guys can disagree with this, but about Gen Z in general, which is that they tend to prefer less direct forms of communication, like more likely to ghost each other after dates, that kind of thing. And this very much speaks to that kind of indirect communication style. Do you agree with that? Is it more popular among that age group? And how do you feel it lands with maybe older populations in the workforce as well?
Well, this what I have noticed is you always hear these jokes around older people using Facebook and misusing memes. There seems to be some a level of gatekeeping the art of meming and things like that. There are different generations use memes in different ways, but I do see that Gen Zs and younger people are using it to communicate much more than older people are. Older people use it to share connections. But it seems like the younger generations are using it to talk, essentially. We had to learn why Gen Zs were using emojis and what certain emojis mean in text and shorthand languages and things like that. But now there are memes, there's AI models that are creating memes at mind-boggling scales that don't even contain human emotion, essentially. And they're using that to convey their own feelings. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing is a really interesting question, because, like we discussed, I believe that memes are a really effective way of just releasing the pressure in certain experiences in life and potentially starting to pick away at things that individuals may be going through or may not be able to communicate. And I think Gen Zs and younger generations are very good at using the tools that they have in internet culture, memes being one of them, at communicating how they're feeling, things that they're going through, and essentially reaching out for others who are going through the same thing. And again, it's to me, it's just an evolution of the way that the human beings use language and the tools around them to do that.
So I've been in B2B comms now for a while. I big global corp, and we would do end of year communications events, but we would create different types of content to provide insights for the business and the employee base to understand and learn more about the leadership team, because, you know, when you're a global organization, they're kind of unreachable. So we did one video that was carpool karaoke. It was brilliant and it landed so well. And then another year, and this idea actually came from one of the board, the CMO. And it was from the TikTok thing where someone would catch something and throw it, and then someone else would cause it in the frame. And that was, again, using what was happening out there in total B2C world on new platforms, translating it through into internal comms, and always landed so well. And I've thought many times about, does meme culture translate into comms in any way? And I'm like, because there's a line, right? And I figure out, I'd love to know what your opinion is on that.
Well, so at Tangerine, we have B2C brands, and we also work with a huge number of B2B brands as well. Tradespeople, architects, loads of different industries, loads of different sectors. And what we find is that the people that you are communicating with are human beings. Whether they are in the C-suite or whether they're a builder that's out on the site for 12 hours a day, they are still individuals who at some point will go home, they'll scroll, they'll have the same fears and they'll have the same concerns, they'll go to sleep with the same thoughts that we all do, and they like to spend their time communicating in the same ways that we do. So I think with B2B, it's difficult because there is an assumption that it has to be very corporate and very serious. And one thing we do at Tangerine is take these brands on a journey to help them understand their audience and how they can package content that we know that their audience wants to consume in a way that's a little bit more human friendly, but also still carries the B2B energy, I suppose. It's all about understanding your audience. And we talked about earlier, and that memes are taken completely differently by the individual that receives them. If you're speaking to a very corporate audience, and all of a sudden you start communicating through memes around potentially quite serious subject matter, then that will be received by certain pockets of those audiences very differently, and some will receive it in a positive way and others may not. It's all about taking your audiences on those journey and understanding the type of content that they feel that these brands should be putting out on social channels and communicating through.
And I would assume from an internal culture building perspective, I mean, there seems to be loads of potential opportunity, right? If you're trying to build a certain kind of culture, a common set of values and behaviors across a culture, then you can see on the face of it how memes would be a quite useful way of continuously reinforcing some of that, right? But I think there's also the question around, when does it not feel authentic? Like, when does it start feeling like it came from the business for the people as opposed to something that emerged authentically from people? So I guess in terms of an internal comms perspective, what would you advise companies that are looking to use memes as a way of building culture, but want to make sure they're not going to start taking away the joy of creating and building, sharing memes?
Well, I suppose it's not too dissimilar to when companies started using things like GIFs, maybe 8 to 10 years ago in emails and their comms. It's a way of making their comms feel warmer. It's a way of engaging with the workforce. But as with all memes, it has to be relatable to the individuals. And there's nothing worse than a board or a senior leadership team trying to sound like people that they are not, and trying to connect with people in a really inauthentic way. Authenticity is really key to what makes a meme successful. Like I said earlier, it's so important that the meme and the connection between the sender and the receiver is there's a shared something that makes this meme work. If there's a business using memes as a shortcut to try and connect with their workforce, but they haven't really connected with them in any way previously and don't know enough about this workforce to use memes effectively, then it's not always going to work. And it's the same 10 years ago with GIFs. If you start sharing reaction GIFs in emails when the workforce just hasn't put the work in to connect with the rest of their colleagues, then it's just not going to be received, because for a meme to be successful, the receiver and the sender need to have something that they can relate to that meme. So yeah, work just needs to be done before you jump into this kind of thing.
And you have just answered my earlier question of what did we do before memes and reels, and it was GIFs.
It was
GIFs. Yeah,
really horrible picture GIFs, yeah.
So what are the best examples out there in the world of memes and memes that are trying to do something, maybe not memes that have been put out by companies, or, memes that are trying to achieve something beyond just virality?
I really like when a really good example of memes that I don't like are political parties using memes to try and connect and carry messages on social media. That's a really good example of a body trying to use a certain cultural tool to connect with an audience, but doing it in a really inauthentic way. I really love memes that come from viral videos that have just been caught incidentally, that go viral, and then a very short snippet or a still from that video is attached to millions and millions of different scenarios, so much so that brands get involved as well. And again, television, moments from television, because there are two layers to television, memes that come from television. There is the moment itself, if you watch the show and you understood that moment and you think, oh, you watched that too, we have a connection, we both watch the same TV show and we both experience that moment. But it's the additional layer that you can attach to that, which is bringing that emotion, that expression to life in a completely new way. I just love those that come from live TV.
The one that occurs to me is the one with the people in the Coldplay concert. When I can't remember which one it is, but one of them sort of fades out. It was just such a funny reaction, right, to the moment of being caught. And I mean, that one went everywhere, but that was just everything about the video in its original form was so perfect for assigning so many different kinds of meaning to. And as you said, companies got involved and so on. I feel guilty saying it because I think since then the woman's come out and said there are real people here, families involved, so on and so forth. But actually the video itself as captured was quite remarkable.
Yeah, that's a really, really good example of something that's happened in the last 12 months where there was a moment where a video went everywhere and then all of a sudden humans want to attach their own emotion and their own messages to it. It's a really, really strong example. Unfortunate.
And it was a live TV moment, right? It was one of those things that just everything came together to capture this thing that was had so many layers. Yeah, it was amazing.
I also love I love that there are memes from 10 years ago. I don't know if you know. Well, you will know this meme, but it's a boy and his girlfriend walking down the high street, and he's hand in hand with the girl. And he's also looking behind at another woman. I love how now that has been so used and it's so saturated that it's now being manipulated so that he's looking in different ways, and they're using AI to bring somebody else behind the other woman, and the other woman's moving in the opposite direction. Memes are being broken apart and reassembled to fit the way we communicate now, as opposed to where we were 10 years ago. That was such a really simple meme. It was looking away at something that was slightly more exciting than what you currently have. It was a really simple emotion to get across. Whereas now it's being turned into videos, it's being ripped apart, and it's just being reused and reassembled to suit the way we communicate. So memes are endless.
So do you think it's a phase? I mean, obviously these things will always evolve, but do you think they're going to stick around, especially in like the work context that we're talking about? Do you think they're here to stay?
I definitely think they will evolve. One big question I have is, because of the way AI is advancing, certainly this year we've seen the abilities to create quite lifelike videos and stills at the touch of in a split second, essentially. We have the technology now to make millions of memes in seconds that can essentially portray so many different human expressions, and therefore technically we could have an infinite amount of memes possible created in a split second. The question I have is, does a meme need to have a real human expression? Do we need to know that it's coming from a real life moment for it to be a powerful meme? I know we have memes from cartoons and things like that, but we know those characters, so we understand when they pull that expression, there's a story behind that. Whereas if we have AI creating thousands of memes per day and just churning out different expressions and things like that, are we going to lose the really, really important humanness behind what makes a meme great? And that is something that we'll find out over the coming year or so. I do think that memes will not go away because it's such an effective way of sharing an opinion and a belief and a feeling with other individuals. I do it with absolutely everyone that I'm connected with in my life, my partner, my friends, my colleagues. I send memes to people that I haven't seen for 10 years who I'm still connected with on social media. And it's a really, really, it's a very low barrier way of me saying to that person, I still think of you, you're still part of my life. here's something that I think you'll like. And I aside from actually messaging them and saying, hi, I'm still thinking of you, I hope you're well, surface level, it's really whimsical. But when you dig deeper, it's actually a really, really powerful way of saying, you're still in my life. I still respect your interests and your sense of humor. Here's something that I think you might like.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about the AI component, because I think it kind of goes back to that political cartoon thing I mentioned, right? I mean, once you bring AI into the mix and you start creating the images from your own mind, it's the same as creating what used to be a political cartoon, right? You're effectively drawing what you want to see and you're assigning a joke to it. And it still has the impact of creating that kind of inside joke. The trends we're seeing around like meme markets and like kind of monetization of memes and so on probably is going to continue to be linked to that authentic moment, the authentic cultural moment, I would imagine, because that is what actually brings it both deepens the inside joke and it brings that element of we were all here at the same time that I think is different. I don't think the AI aspect will replace the need for the originally intended meme. Maybe it becomes something else. Maybe it's a modern cartoon, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, it's a good point. I think that the best memes have these multiple layers. And one of the key layers for me is something has happened in culture or something has happened in my life or on television. And we have attached something additional to that to convey this feeling or opinion. I think with the AI or these monetized, these memes that are being created through AI, they can still carry an opinion and they can still carry a message, but whether you as a human will still have that shared additional story that's attached to these memes is a different thing. So obviously there are different levels to memes and people take them and read them in different ways. I just think that without that cultural real life moment, that cultural real human moment that's happened, whether these memes in the future still have the same power on a personal level is a really good question. But it's hard sometimes to, we all suffer from varying levels of anxieties, and sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I can't face replying to messages on WhatsApp because I can't do that right now. Whereas being able to just fling a meme into a group with some people and it essentially says, I've seen this and I'm thinking of you guys, weren't those times great? And it all of a sudden it kickstarts this conversation. That's where the power lies, in these human connections and how a simple image or a short video can carry so much for so many individual people. That's why they're so powerful.
Yeah, they are.
If people wanted to get in touch with you to talk about memes or to potentially bring memes into their own advertising, communications, that sort of thing, how would they best do that?
LinkedIn, I would say. We do loads of work around memes. We have loads of really, really important conversations around how brands should be using memes to connect with our audiences. What we deem as overstepping the line, where the future what the future holds for memes. It's constantly evolving. It's happening every month. There's something new that we have to consider. There's conversations always taking place. LinkedIn's the best place to get in touch with me. And yeah, love to have a conversation.
Great. Thanks so much for coming and talking to us about this slightly left field topic related to workplace. Really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.